Welcome to the Heart of Racing podcast, mate, alongside our mates at Ladbrokes, Neil Breen and Will Freedman with you here. We're in a new studio. Will, do you like it?
I feel like we've upgraded.
We have.
Yeah.
We're moving up in the world now that Ladbrokes have joined us.
Mate, it's a new wave of excitement.
Before we get into it today, I want to start with a massive congratulations to you. Your stable mail was for Rosehill Race 1, the horse you trained, Electrica.
Yeah.
Bolted in.
Yeah.
Your next tip was Brave Mead.
Yeah.
Was never going to lose from the 200. Your next tip, you had an all-up of it into Imperatriz, did the business, the great mare. Then in the Golden Slipper, you said Lady of Camelot will win the Golden Slipper, and you want to have an each way or a place bet on Coleman.
Yeah, $7.
Mate, it was unbelievable.
I had a proper fill up on Saturday. How about this? I've got a story. This is just off topic though. So I got up to a certain amount. You know, like how you have X amount of dollars, like, and you're like, I'll bet that on the next race just to even it out. Like you'll stop when you get to whatever the figure is.
Yeah.
And anyway, I'm on my way home from the races and yesterday, and I was like, oh, I'll watch this last race at Sandown just before I leave the petrol station. Anyway, I put like $110 on it. So it was Pantalone or something in the last race. So I'm watching it go down. I'm like, oh, this is great. It's going to win. Wins by just the smallest little head. So I go back into my betting account and I'm like, why am I down a heap of money? And I'd accidentally put an extra 0 on the end of the bet and it got up.
So you had 1,100.
1,100 on this horse. I didn't even know.
At
Sandown.
You've lost the plot.
Yeah, and then it won. So I could not have scripted the week any better from a punting perspective. I was on fire.
Oh, I love it. I tell you who wasn't on fire. It's the jockey you're going to give the pineapple of the week to, and the pineapples for the shocking ride of the week. And it goes to someone who rode at Ramwick, the inner track, the midweek meet yesterday.
This is not his first nomination for the year either. Enrawilla.
No,
Special
Nash.
Sway. Special Sway.
It was in the last race,
yeah,
right?
I had a runner in it. That's why I took a keen interest. So it sat 3 wide without cover. It must have been 8 lengths clear of the field.
Yeah, he took off.
Oh, it was just, and finished last.
Last.
You know, like if you do it, you got to get it right.
You showed me the stewards report before. it was about this long.
I know, but in the end, like Chris Waller comes back and says, yes, I gave him the option to do that. You can't, there's no upside.
But he gave him the option to roll forward, not bolt forward.
And to improve the tempo from the 800. But I feel like improving the tempo from the 800 is like just a little gradual increase. He was off to the races.
It was a stinker. It was a stinker of a ride.
It's going to be hard to top that one, I think.
For the year.
Yeah, I reckon it's a prize nomination.
Rightio. Let's get into the Sayonara. And that's a horse that we want to sack. I want to sack, and you want to sack. We're united here.
Yeah.
Any horse that ran in the Ramwick Guineas. So last week I Sayonara'd militarised. I said, it's just not winning this horse. It didn't win, and it came through the Ramwick Guineas. It ran second. Tom Kitten bombed.
He was just
dreadful. He was awful, Tom Kitten, and he'd run in the Ramwick Guineas. Meanwhile, the place getters from the Australian Guineas won 2 Group 1s at Rosehill. So Riff Rocket ran third in the Australian Guineas, and it just bolted in the Rosehill Guineas, and V8 won the George Ryder.
And to be honest, I reckon the Randwick Guineas has to be under pressure to keep Group 1 status at this point.
Well, there's too many Group 1 races.
But I told you earlier in the week, I said that Randwick Guineas, I think the last 5 winners, only one horse has won another race after winning it. And that was Lions Roar, who won a Group 3 2 years later. Like, it's just become a terrible
graveyard.
Like
so Celestial Legend won that race.
And everyone's spruiking it.
It's the favourite for the Doncaster.
And everyone was like, oh, it's a big revamp of the Randwick Guineas. Well, maybe it's not. Maybe it's not a revamp. Maybe it's just...
The form's not there.
Because they all finished in a clump together. They're either all elite or they're not. I mean, Militarised wasn't awful. He wasn't awful in.
Yeah, but he got beaten, and he's been favourite or near favourite every week, and he keeps getting beaten. The fact is, the Sydney Racing Fraternity won't like it. The Melbourne form in the 2-year-olds and the 3-year-olds belted the Sydney form last weekend.
Oh, they did. It's been a lot stronger than I would have given credit for, but maybe it's the times of changing a little bit.
Rightio, the So Simple. Well, I got it right, and I made this horse my special last Saturday, Via Sistina.
Yeah,
the European
she was good.
The European middle distance form is just so much better than ours.
It wasn't a very good.
No, I know it wasn't. I know it wasn't. But she was sitting out the back, and it was a muddling run race, and it was a joke.
She took
It was
them
this.
to the sword quick.
It was this. And yours is Imperatriz.
Yeah, I mean,
Imperatriz at Moonee Valley.
Yeah.
I know Johnny Rocket ran close to it. Third was miles away, but she had to run wide and make all the running.
How about all the conjecture about they gave Johnny Rocker, I think, 31 ratings points. He went from a benchmark 77 to 108.
Yeah, well, it's probably the worst thing he ever did was run second in that Group 1.
Well, it's quite a controversial topic in the industry. It's like they actually don't want to encourage horses to run that far out of grade. So they've got to penalise you for running second. What if they just gave him 5 points and he goes back and he beats the
benchmark 84s
by 10 lengths?
Yeah, I know. Well, as a benchmark 70-something, he ran in the race and he took the risk. He gets the second prize money and is now a benchmark 100 and something. It's ridiculous.
But I guess the question then is say, okay, well, he's gone up 31 points quickly. You should drop down points quickly as well. Like, if you're going to rush them up there, if he proves that he's come back down to a level, like his actual level is
when
about
you
a benchmark
start running
84,
poorly, you should drop. Takes a long time to drop.
And if for a horse owner, it's like, that might be the last competitive race he ever has.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. Do you know that Johnny Rocker, if that was a handicap last weekend, Johnny Rocker would have got 22 kilos less than Imperatriz?
They would have had to have. Opie would have had to use like a stock saddle, like a big leather stock saddle that they use on bull riding.
It's ridiculous. Ridiculous. Rightio, let's get into Gates Fly. Just a couple of quick issues I want your thoughts on this week. The Melbourne Autumn, I'm not bagging the Australian Cup. I love the Australian Cup. But it is dragging on. The Australian Cup's run a lot later now than it used to be. It clashes with the Tancred, the 2,400-metre Group 1 race at Rosehill. Both fields just get knocked around.
I actually think both autumns and both springs drag on too long.
The competition between the two states.
But just bring all the good racing in close together and just do it in like a 6-week block or a 4 to 6 week block and just get it all there. Group 1 racing. It's supposed to be the grand final, the carnival. So I'm like, why don't we just get all the racing close together? It doesn't need to drag on for long. Just find the best 4 weeks.
Goes for 3 months.
Just for the best 4 to 6 weeks, just find whatever that sweet spot is and just have it there.
And just go whack. Okay. Next week, Imperatriz, they're saying it'll be here for the TJ Smith to run against all of the top Sydney sprinters. We know what's been going on. She's been concentrating on Melbourne. A lot of the good sprinters have been in Sydney. That was because of the Everest and all of those things. But she's going to come here to the TJ Smith Saturday week at Randwick. Do you want to see her win, Will?
I want to see her win, definitely.
I do.
I like seeing good horses win.
I am going to cheer for her so hard it's not funny.
But am I sure she's going to win? No, I'm not sure.
She does look a length off the spring form.
I agree. I think the spring was
she's
much
good enough
better
to beat them.
But they're going to have to run her down. At some point in the TJ, she'll look the winner.
The Sydney Sprinters form's been a bit funny. I Wish I Win comes here and runs first up, and I know the Moody stable's going to send I Wish I Win to Queensland for a few races. But anyway, we'll talk about the TJ Smith.
Doesn't seem
next
like
week.
the TJ's his target race. It feels like it's the start of a prep. Like it doesn't feel like we haven't heard this narrative leading up to it. It's been like, no, this is where he's going. It's like, well, is it really how you wanted to get him there? Maybe there's been a few hiccups.
Yeah, well, 1,200 metres at Randwick first up against those great sprinters. You'd want to be rock hard fit. Okay, April 8, put it in your diary, Monday, April 8, just after lunchtime. That is when Winx's foal, the Piero Winx filly, goes for sale at the Inglis Easter sale. So Monday, April 8, just after lunchtime. Now, Will, I've made a lot of phone calls.
What do you think she'll make?
She's going to smash the filly's all-time record of 2.6.
Oh, yeah.
She's going to smash it because the foals, we know with yearlings, she's got to be all correct and she's got to be this, she's got to be that. The X-rays have got to be fine. There's no problems.
Won't matter for her, though.
But there is no problems.
Even if there was, it wouldn't matter because the residual values.
The residual's there. So the all-time record's 5 million.
Winx's sister, half-sister won yesterday, City of Lights.
Oh, it won. It won the last.
The one that Nash butchered.
It didn't get a run in one of the good races. It had to run in the last.
It was trying to get in the Emancipation, but was it a reserve, so it had to run in the last. But it looks like it'll be a stakes horse. That's going to be a very valuable mare as well.
Oh, absolutely. The half-sister to Winx.
Wow.
Absolutely. So $5 million was the record for a colt, but that was that ridiculous sale, the half-brother to Black Caviar, when all of those crazy people who ended up going bust were out there at the old Inglis complex throwing money around, and then the horse died of a spider bite. I don't even want to get into it. Anyway, the mail I've got is that Coolmore's interested.
Yeah.
Yulong
Yeah.
are interested and got plenty. Japanese breeders take it straight back to Japan.
Yeah, Northern Farm.
Just take it straight back to Japan. And also that Debbie Capitas, one of the 3 owners of Winx, will be in there somewhere too. She's from the famous Ingham family.
Yeah, so she doesn't want to sell, obviously.
Well, I reckon there was something not right between the 3 owners.
Has to be.
The fact that they've put this filly, it's like, you know what, we're just going to sell her. If you want to, you take her. Something's gone on.
Yeah.
And so
that's interesting.
So I've got some mail that Capitas might put together her own
little
and
group.
If there's those 4 bidding,
I reckon.
Look out.
I reckon it's a match in 2, if you ask me. It's a match between Yulong and Coolmore.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. It'll be somewhere between 2.6 and 5. I thought, but
Coolmore border. I guess you'd stay here for the 2-year-old, 3-year-old season.
Yeah, you would. And you know what? And you know what? We'll talk about it next week. You wouldn't race her unless she was half decent. If she wasn't showing up in trials, you'd just go, we'll just go and make her a mum.
Yeah. There's this weird conception that an unraced mare is more valuable than an unplaced mare.
Mm.
My view is neither are valuable, but if your horse has actually gone to the races, surely that's a show that the progeny might be sound enough to go to the race as well. People that go like...
It could be a show that it's slow.
Well, it definitely is a sign that it's slow. But I just mean, like, I would think a horse that gets to the race is more valuable than one that doesn't. But that's just me.
Welcome back. This is the Heart of Racing, made alongside our mates at Ladbrokes. And one of those mates, Tom Hackett, joins us. He's from Ladbrokes. He's going to give us his big ones for this weekend.
Thanks, Brini. It's a monster weekend of Group 1 racing. Then to start things off at Flemington in the Australia Cup. It's getting talked about as a race in 2 between Mr. Brightside and Pride of Jenny. I'm taking them both on. I think the horse to beat is a Tissue, currently $6.50 with Ladbrokes. She won the Champion Stakes in the spring. I think she's suited to 2,000 metres. I think she is going to be very, very tough to beat. We go to Sydney for a Group 1 double. We'll start off in the Vinery Stud Stakes, where the Star Kiwi filly Orchestral is a dominant favourite with Ladbrokes. I think she could be a genuine superstar, could develop into a Ladbrokes Cox Plate contender in the spring. But at $1.60, I do think she's a little bit on the short side. I think the value runner here is Zardozi, the Golfin filly. She won the Oaks in really impressive fashion in the spring. She was very good in the Far Lap Stakes last start. I think at $4.60, she is a good bet to upstage the Kiwi filly Orchestral. Then we finish in a really interesting edition of the Tancred Stakes. Probably not the strongest Tancred we've ever seen, but I think it's a really interesting betting race. Another race with good value. So Post Impressionist is the favourite. But I want to take him on with Buckaroo for the Chris Waller stable. Thought he was very good last weekend in the Ranvet Stakes. Has been heading in the right direction this preparation. I think the Tancred Stakes could be the right race for him to get a Group 1 win on the board in Australia. It's going to be a ripping afternoon of racing on Saturday, boys. I'm really looking forward to it. Back to you.
Okay, there he goes. Tom Hackett from Ladbrokes. Thanks for those ones. Well, let's see how he goes against us, Will. You're on fire, as we said at the top of the show. Let's go straight to Rosehill, the Tancred Stakes. It was known as the BMW for a long time. 2,400 metres, weight for age, Group 1. Post Impressionist, one of the UK horses, came out here and flogged them last weekend. $2.40, backing up. Buckaroo, $4.80. They're both on the quick backup from last week. The interesting runner, Tom Kitten, at $7. It's backing up again. I am not touching it. And that's if he starts ahead of next week's Derby. So we'll just see how the field plays out over the next couple of days. Military Mission for Waterhouse spot at $9.50. Last start, Pakenham Cup winner, Ash Run. It was $11 when the market opened yesterday. It's already into $8. What are you liking here, mate?
I like Post Impressionist. He brings
it was
the
a
right
soft win.
Yeah, and I don't see anything in this race that really says to me that they're going to overturn him. Like, I think he's only going to get better with more racing under his belt. This is a good lead-up race for him to then, I imagine after this, he'll go to the Sydney Cup.
Sydney Cup. Well, he won over 2,400 metres last week. He backs up here. You know, he was never a black type performer in any type of black type at all. in
But
the UK.
It's a bit of a silly race, having the Ranvet last week and then
I know,
going into the
but this is a
Tancred. It's
group-
just a top-up.
This is a Group 1 race. There's too many Group 1s.
Yeah.
Like this is a bit ridiculous.
Well, at least there's too many Group 1s at the same time of year over the same type of distance. Like, I have no issue with a lot of Group 1s, but like, why couldn't you run the Tancred in winter? Like, have a series that leads up to it,
and it makes it, and
it tops off the winter.
I was going to say a qualifier for the Melbourne Cup, but heaven forbid that in
We can't work
Victoria
together.
they'd allow a Sydney race to qualify. Another one that's a Group 1, and these will be the same horses that race in 2 weeks, although I've got some mail here, is the Vinery Stud Stakes, 2,000 metres for 3-year-old fillies. Orchestral, the Kiwi, that has brained them in New Zealand, $1.60. Zardozi, the VRC Oaks winner who won last start in the Coolmore Classic. It was a good win, $4.40. Autumn Angel, last start winner in Melbourne, $7. Komochi, non-winner, is $9.50. What are you liking here?
I'm putting the house on Orchestral.
The house?
Yep, all of it.
Zardozi's a good horse, bro.
Not Orchestrals. Like,
Not in
Orchestral's got 5
class?
on them, I reckon. Like, don't get me wrong,
Zardozi's a good horse.
but Roger James brought over Prowess last year, and then he's done it again with Orchestral. He says this is better than Prowess. Albeit, I saw that Prowess, they had nearly retired Prowess, and apparently there's been a miraculous recovery, and she's going to start racing again. But no, Zardozi, good horse. They'll flog the rest of them, but this shouldn't be a Group 1 either.
No, it shouldn't be. This should be a Group 2 race leading into the Group 1
Right.
Oaks.
It doesn't need to be.
Doesn't need to be a Group 1. I
No.
don't get it. Or don't make the Oaks 2,400 and make it a 2,000-metre championship for fillies. But anyway,
make this the grand final
make
race.
this the big one. Yeah. The Star Kingdom is an interesting race. I put this in. It's a Group 3 race over 1,200 metres. Hawaii 5-0, $4.80. Coal Crusher is at $9. Hawaii 5-0's first up. Airman failed first up, $10. Shinzo's at $6 last year's slipper winner. Libertad's at $6.50. Zoo Tiger first up is at $10. I don't mind Hawaii 5-0 here, but I'll get to that a bit later.
Shinzo had epiglottic throat surgery between preps, so there was an issue there in the spring. So anyway, that solves a couple of those questions. Look, I agree with you with Hawaii 5-0, but Coal Crusher can put out a really good performance.
He can get out. He can get out. Be hard to catch.
Yep.
Okay, Coal Crusher, you don't mind each way or the win?
No, go the win.
The win, okay. The Doncaster Prelude. Now, okay, I don't know where to start here. So another Will is a boom horse that's come through its grades out of Melbourne. And a lot of times the Doncaster Prelude and hence the Doncaster is set up for a horse that comes through the grades with winning by lengths and gets the weight pull. And another Will just fits that category. It's a $2 favourite. Then there's a wall of horses behind it. It's a big field. Amor Victorious, $8.50. Coin Toss is at $10. What else is there? Von Hawk's at $10. Rustic Steel's $13. Everything else is like $20.
It's been a huge push for another Will.
Massive. The stable thinks it's a gun.
Yeah, I saw a trial up here. I actually had a horse we were training in the trial who's no superstar, benchmark 64. Look, it handled it well, but I don't know. There's just something. I'm not as sold on another Will as others.
They won't hear a word about it getting beat.
I know, and you look at this field and you're like, it probably doesn't get beat. But I'm not jumping into it for the Doncaster. That's for sure.
The problem with a field like that is, it's a big field and there's a Johnny Rocket in the race somewhere. Johnny Rocket ran Imperatrice too.
Yeah.
There's something.
The 3-year-olds do very well in the
Doncaster and all those. Yeah, of course they do. Anyway, we'll see if another Will stacks up and then goes through to the Doncaster next week. We'll go to Flemington where the Australian Cup Group 1 is over 2,000 metres, the Australian Cup. This is the same old race again. Mr. Brightside, $2.40. Pride of Jenny is at $3.10. A Tissue's at $6.50. Cascadian, $8.50. Remember, these prices can move around a bit too.
You know what's interesting about this is Mr. Brightside and Pride of Jenny should be absolute Monties to finish 1-2 in the Doncaster, but they've decided to go to the Australian Cup over 2,000.
Yeah.
Which, okay, Mr. Brightside's a genuine 2,000-metre horse. Pride of Jenny, we're not sure, is a genuine 2,000-metre horse. Why wouldn't you run Pride of Jenny in the Doncaster?
I don't know. I know it'd get a big weight, but just put it out in front and say, catch me if you can. Look, I don't know that the Flemington 2,000 metre suits Mr. Brightside greatly. Flemington, Pride of Jenny likes it, but she's got to get 2,000. I'm just going to back a Tissue because she won the McKinnon last year, won it really well. obviously likes the 2,000 metres. I'm just going to find something to run over the top.
I think I'm going to stick with Mr. Brightside. I've stuck with him the whole way through. He's only let me down once. I think he's going to turn the table and people are going to be like, yeah, he is that good.
Okay, there's a few other good races with big fields at Flemington. It's a good betting day. If you get 2 winners at Flemington, you're going home with Chinese.
Yeah.
Like you're dead set winning. Now, there's a Sunlight
What do you get
Classic.
at Chinese?
What
do you order?
Fried rice, spring rolls, prawn chips. I love chicken chow mein.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely love chicken chow mein.
You don't like beef chow mein?
No. I sort of stick with, like, I can eat honey chicken, sweet and sour pork. I can eat all those classics. I'm just an old Cantonese man from way back. Anyways, the Sunlight Classic's listed over 1,100. What do you get?
I'm more a Thai.
I knew it. I knew you were going to say I'm a Thai person. I'll move on to the Sunlight Classic. It's listed over 1,100 Thai. Leave me out of it. I am unstoppable.
Bit of pad Thai? You don't like it?
I don't. Actually, I do like it. I am unstoppable. Is at $4. It hasn't run since it was 8th. First up in the Lightning a month and a half ago. Stretton Angel comes in at $6. Arkansas Kid, I reckon, is good value at about $12. It just depends whether you trust that I Am Unstoppable is a good horse and you can forgive the Lightning run.
I think you do.
I think you do too.
They wouldn't have. They would have given
it a beauty.
They would have given it a proper spell if there was something really wrong, but they haven't really given it like a proper spell.
Yeah, something was slightly amiss. They gave it 42 or something days out.
I reckon $4 is stealing there.
Good price.
Yeah, you're not as keen.
Oh no, I don't mind.
You like Arkansas Kid?
I don't mind it as a value bet at $12, but I think you might have just talked me around. Now let's get to some stable mail. It used to be called the Owen because it was Owen this because you never tipped a winner.
I'm Owen at the moment.
I know, but you've got it all. But Electrica didn't just win last weekend.
Wow.
I started studying the form for the next race at Eagle Farm at the 200.
Yeah,
with the money I'd won on it.
She was due that. She was due that, and she got the right run of the race. I tell you, there's one I've got one at longer odds.
Okay, it's for Ladbrokes communities. Ladbrokes communities ever wanted to connect, banter, and share tips with a group of diehard racing punters? Well, it's time to check out communities available in the Ladbrokes app. What do you got?
I got one at longer odds.
Okay.
It is the last race at Rosehill.
Oh.
Coast Watch. It is $41 at the moment.
Okay.
I'm not saying put all your money on to win, but at $41, you'll get about $12 the place.
Okay.
It's drawn a good barrier. It ran third in the Golden Rose about 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's drawn a good barrier. It had 2 years off before its first up run. It's come on again. It ran a super quick sectional between the 400 and the 200 before getting tired.
Okay.
And I think it'll run a place.
Coast Watch each way in the last at Rosehill. Just when we're down to the bones of our backside.
Get out stakes.
We just go crunchola.
And if you lose,
if that horse wins, you win for the year.
Yeah. You're going to start giving stable mail, and we'll make it the Owen with you.
If that horse wins, when you walk into this studio next Thursday when we record this, there is going to be a pad Thai sitting there.
To be fair, I haven't been too bad with stable mail since Ladbrokes have
They've all run a place.
Okay.
They've all run a place. We've got our money back. It's time to unload the horse we're backing this weekend. I've decided it's Hawaii 5-0. I think it is a good horse. It races well fresh. Didn't race so well fresh last week's campaign, but it was out of its class because they wanted it to go to the Everest. It was sometimes good horses aren't quite, got beaten in the Stradbroke. They're good horses, but they're not as good as the great Group 1 horses. Gets back to its class in its right company here on the weekend. And I think in a Group 3 race, that's his go.
Yeah, I'm going to go. I don't mind that bet. I'm going to go Mr. Brightside and Orchestral into each other.
Just back them.
Just back them both. Put them together. Put as much on as you want.
Stick with the good horses.
Mate, you can put next week's rent on it.
Okay. I was going to tip Arkansas Kid each way.
You will live rent-free for a month.
In your head.
Yeah.
Okay. I was going to back Arkansas Kid each way, but you talked me out of it. I'm now realising that I Am Unstoppable will win the Sunlight Classic.
Championships start the week after, which will be good. When we get back at Randwick. I love Sydney racing at Randwick.
Yeah, that's what I like. I love Melbourne racing at Flemington. Rightio, Will Friedman, thanks so much, mate. Next week, let's hope there's a pad Thai in here because it means you've tipped a 40-1 winner and you'll officially be the hero.